you send any sort of communication, they have a certain number of days in which they're supposed to respond to you, and they can be charged
if they don't.
Yes, if they don't.
So what Dean is saying is, parang I remember this column of Father Bernas where during the first deliberation, so one commissioner was actually deliberating the idea of the ombudsman as mere sumbongero.
Yeah, it's a very simple idea, and it might seem like a trivial thing, but it's the sort of thing that happens in complicated organizations where there's a person you can go to, and then that person can cut through all of the baloney and all of the red tape.
No, but it's very different from what you're pointing out as your plain reading of the Constitution, and what everyone else seems to expect, which has as we were pointing out earlier, has a long history behind it, which is, it's not enough just to say, oh, may basehan itong paratang or wala. The thing is, people want people to be charged and convicted.
Well, that's true, but I want to point out something. Remember, the duty to reply, is put on all government employees, but the ombudsman is a very, very special official. This is one of only 31 constitutional officers, okay? A very, very special person. Who's not just some sumbongero or who's just a muyo, another ordinary government official who's supposed to reply. No, this person has independence, has power, and is a constitutional officer. This is an impeachable official, like the president, like the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
Which brings us down to brass tacks, which is that what happens then when that official is perceived at the very least, not to be doing their job.
I think insulto yung clip kanina eh. Kasi insulto yung sa legacy ni Bela Lugosi.
Oo.
Bela Lugosi was actually doing his job.
Correct.
His job was to act.
That's right.
Ngayon, ang gusto kong siguro malaman, mapag-usapan kung sa apat na ombudsman na nagkaroon ng Republika ng Pilipinas since 87-88, meron ba talagang nagawang konkreto itong mga ombudsman ito?
Well, the case that everyone is pointing out and is used, let's say, by Special Prosecutor Villa Ignacio, and he's been in the news because hindi sila magkasundo ng ombudsman. He was saying, at least in the case of, let's say, of Simeon Marcelo, that General Garcia was charged and hauled off to jail, and it's just getting bigger, di ba? Yung mga anak niya dinampot sa States. Now, he's saying, of course, in the previous, especially Ombudsman Desierto was widely perceived.
Who was no saint himself.
So, wala ring nangyari, di ba? And then, in fact, it had to be, the only time na medyo nanagot si FVR sa time niya was when he had to go to Congress. Remember? Which was unprecedented. We never had a president, ex-president, na pinapunta sa Kongreso even to talk about the centennial things. And that was a major humiliation for him. Of course, President Estrada, ibang usapan, that was a different scenario. Now, this is doubly important now because over the past few years, people have been, on one hand, hoping our institutions will work, and then on the other, they're seeing parang hindi umuubra. So, again, this brings us to the point. What happens in the case of Merceditas Gutierrez?
See, I'm a very casual observer. No? I just watch this from afar. Technically, that translates, so I'm really not interested, but since it's here in front of my face right now, this is my question. What's complicated? The job description? The job description implementation, or the other institutions seemingly so intermeshed with the role of the ombudsman? So who is making the mess?
Well, these are the issues that are raised. The issues that are raised is, number one, when the president of the Philippines is the one who appoints the ombudsman, and even if may pre-selected list that may qualifications, if the president is the one who picks them, and that the term of the ombudsman is actually longer than the president's term, isn't there a built-in temptation to say, my number one criteria for appointing as ombudsman is someone who will guard me when I leave office?
Well,
that's the first one.
That goes with every other office that she.
No, but in particular the ombudsman, because the ombudsman has the, as Dean was pointing out, has the power to
reply to complaints.
To get documents, to call for investigations, to bring you to court, to charge you with plunder, for example, as happened to...
Sometimes, Manolo, you might want that. In other words, maybe this president doesn't choose well, but someday we may have a president who will choose a real ombudsman, who will use the powers of the ombudsman to really help the people, to listen to their complaints. So what I'm saying is, be careful about not wishing that the president had that power, because we don't know who the next
Yes.
president will
But
be.
and in
They
fact,
want
I mean,
him
the
or her to
alternatives
appoint the
are
next
limited. And again, Father Bernas has talked about this because even our justices of the Supreme Court are selected through the same process. And
Yes.
he himself advocates a return to the old pre-martial law system where instead of the Judicial and Bar Council doing the
choosing.
choice, it's Congress that.
Or elect a
I think we should
Well,
outsource
that's
our
the other thing.
I think we should
The other-
outsource our
the other-
ombudsman. Get them from Singapore or something.
Maganda
Just
idea.
train
The other-
country
the other
ombudsman.
proposal-
Like,
We
I'm
have some-
French,
we
I'll
have
be the
some
ombudsman in
self-respect
Germany.
naman.
No,
Hindi
each
naman tayo
country
ganun,
should trade off ombudsman if we really want objectivity and
Well, no,
not
although we've
beholden
tried
to
that. Remember,
powers.
we keep bringing these
Nothing
that
wrong with that. We
anti-corruption
can
guy from
take
Hong
services
Kong,
I
from
hear you,
them.
I hear you.
Sure. No, we
No,
can
but of course, there's the other proposal, which is to elect the ombudsman, but that will require a constitutional
It would require
amendment.
a-
Now, the other issue raised again is the whole question of impeachment
Yes, let's
as
talk about
a way of getting people to answer, to be held accountable for their actions. Now, I was surprised, for example, that when we were asking the audience here, how many of you, for example, believe in impeachment as a process to get accountability? Yeah. So, in theory, you do. Okay. Now, the reality of it, for example, Randy David and Father Bernas were saying, we hope she gets impeached, if only so that we
Which
can
she?
settle this.
Which she?
The
Merceditas.
ombudsman,
Okay,
Merceditas
okay,
Gutierrez.
Why not both?
So that there's a chance for her to
No, we're
talk.
talking about the ombudsman.
Okay.
No, but do you guys think this is a worthy use of time, or is it a waste of time? Freudian
I
slip?
always have
Our
worry
word, a
ways.
waste of time.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think one complication is that I heard in the news that some of the congressmen actually have cases with the ombudsman,
Yeah.
and that's a factor in whether they vote for the impeachment or not. So whether we believe in the impeachment process or not, there are certain political realities that come into play, such as that.
Now, and as we were discussing here, in your opinion, which is more important? Is it more important to have the human suggestion box or complaint box, or actually someone who is going to run after people and charge them and get them jailed? Which to you is more important, considering the realities of our government?
I think it's really basic. Ako, kung may somebody offends me, susumbong ako sa taong may kayang gawin. I mean, bakit ako
But that's an operative word there, may kayang
May
gawin.
kayang gawin. Ba't ako magsusumbong sa makikinig lang sa problema ko? That's different. If I need something done or resolved, pupunta ako dun sa taong may kayang i-resolve yung sinusumbong ko. So, I think it's really stupid that the functions are separate pa. Or inefficient, sorry, that might be a better adjective. But it's really inefficient. Kay Lord ako magsusumbong, pero si Dean yung makakasolve.
Well, no,
Hindi
but
na-
that's the logic why they passed a law where the ombudsman is one and the same person now.
Okay.
According to Father Bernas, medyo magulo doon, naiwan pa rin yung,
Yung
special
special
prosecutor.
prosecutor.
medyo hindi niya alam kung saan.
Okay.
I want to shift
Bakit
into
naiwan yung special prosecutor?
I want to shift into the
Well,
buzz
because
mode
it's...
dito.
Go. I like that. Sige.
Ano ba
This is a
talaga?
mirror.
Meron ba lang personal na away si Ombudsman Gutierrez at si SP Villa Ignacio?
Well,
Bakit siya parang emasculated sa role niya?
Oh, yun nga. He feels emasculated. So,
Politics.
if you look at the papers, there was a flag ceremony, and they were singing some song, and I don't know, there was a debate whether it was Bayan Ko, di ba?
Bayan
And
Ko
Villa
or-
Ignacio raised his fist,
Oh, okay.
and
Bawal lang ngayon.
pinagalitan
Bakit
ni...
bawal yun?
No, I think that was maybe an oblique reference to the clenched fist of corruption. Which, by the way, I think that's the other important thing. You know, I'm really ashamed to my friends abroad when they ask about this question about the Philippines being the most corrupt country. And I think this is the thing that really the ombudsman needs to hide her face in shame. Because siya talagang in charge nitong problemang ito. Our reputation is at stake. You know, every time Filipino is mentioned in some country, the thing that comes on their mind is the word corruption.
Meron pa siya third
I
Do we
think-
deserve that? We don't deserve
Yeah, well,
that.
I think well, of course,
Okay,
that's very,
this
very
brings
important.
us to
but-
the particular cases in point. In the impeachment complaint that was filed by former
Yeah,
Senate
Salonga.
President Salonga and others, broadly speaking, the charges against her were, in some cases, for example, I believe it was in the case of
Mega Pacific.
Mega Pacific,
Yeah.
she filed defective cases. In other words,
Oh,
cases so
late.
bad that they had no choice but to throw them out. In other cases, she was accused of not doing anything at all and basically ignoring, for example, the case of the World Bank and that sort of thing. Now, in your expectations and everyone's expectations, how do we determine whether these are legitimate charges or not? This is why some people wanted to get all the way to a trial in the Senate, once and for all, cuentas claras. Others are saying it's political noise, it's a numbers game, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, Dean was saying if all along she had just said, look, this is what I'm doing, ito yung nangyayari, we wouldn't be so upset. Do you agree or disagree about this?
Well, Manolo, one thing I want to say about this impeachment of Mercedes Gutierrez, it isn't so much her and her culpability, but the weapon of impeachment itself.